Welcome everybody to our Tuesday night chat. It's so good to have you here, and I know there's a lot of people watching a replay of this, and we're so lucky to have JoJo Spark from Aussie Preppers with us tonight. And I've been so looking forward to sharing with you what Jo's going to talk about tonight, because it's really relevant to what we are all experiencing and what we need to get ready for. So Jo and I align on so many things, and so I'm going to hand over to Jo and let her tell you her story and start with why you started prepping. Now, I am doing this remotely tonight, so it's a little bit unusual to my normal background and presentation. So I will hand over to Jo because it's all a bit tricky my end with batteries and so forth. So if I die, just continue on without me. I will catch up. But thanks so much, Jo, for being with us tonight. And I'll hand it over to you to share away.
Okay, thanks. And lovely to meet the people that made it on here tonight and those that are watching after the recording. So I just wanted to thank Kelly for having me on. And yes, we've aligned on many things. And when we met through our Telegram channels, it wasn't like on many channels where people can get competitive and I don't want you posting your information and your group on my channel. Like, we were just like, no, we all have to come together and unite and share as much information as you want on the channel. And I've been like that with all of the groups that have started up, and trying to also, I guess, create a network between the groups so that we can help as many people as possible, because we all have different skills in what we're doing. So me being a background of web development, communication, design, branding, all of those things, and also trained in many different modalities, and being on a farm for the last 25 years, it's given me a lot of, I think, diverse skills, and especially, you know, I'm quite confident with technology. So that's why I sort of thought, well, here I am in 2019, and I'll let you know I am pretty woo-woo. I've had a lot of spiritual, profound spiritual experiences my entire life, starting from 2 after a near-death experience, which left me having a lot of experience of seeing the future. And I've learned to trust that, because many of the things, well, pretty much everything I see coming happens. So in 2019, I started to have some pretty intense sort of timeline shifts of what was going to be unfolding in the future, which was food shortages, floods, fires, you know, a complete sort of dystopian view of different parts of the world, and that kind of was quite disturbing. But I guess the main message that I kept having was, you know, to stock up, that there's going to be food shortages, that I need to just get prepped. And that particular message got stronger and stronger all of the time. So we're on 20 acres in the Yarra Valley. I run an equine therapy, art therapy, sound healing center. And so we have land, obviously, to put a garden in. I had a small veggie garden already, and I have had bigger veggie gardens. I grew up.
Jo, can I just get you to change your view to speaker view so we can see you more clearly that way?
Speaker view. Where do I do that?
Go to up the top. There'll be some options. Top right.
Top right. I don't have of my profile. I've got audio, blur background, spotlight.
I don't know if anyone can. I'm on my phone now, so I can't really direct you, but
Is
It's
it
usually,
so that I'm on the whole screen? Is that what you mean? Oh, that's
yes,
on view. Okay. Yep. All right.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. Now you're there. Yep. Okay. So I grew up on a self-sustaining farm where my grandparents grew everything. They milked cows, made butter, preserves. So I had that sort of background growing up, and then had an extensive sort of career in the city, and moved to the country in Victoria in 1996. So coming to where we are now, I was having a lot of, I guess, downloads and information about to prep. So I got stuck into firstly getting some gardening in. And one of the things I realized when you start a garden, and if people are very clever at gardening here, you'll know that it takes quite some time to actually work out what grows in your garden. So I'm pretty happy that I started that, because you have different seasons, drought, a lot of rain like we've had the last year. The garden changes, and it's good to know what you can grow in your soils and what you might have to repair. So one of the things I've done is really extended the garden to get prepared for whatever weather events that we have. So my whole mission of starting Aussie Preppers was to record that process. So I run another channel, the Awakening channel. As I mentioned to Kelly, I had a YouTube channel of 30,000 followers where I was talking a lot about ascension and politics and what was happening in the world, and that channel got taken down last year. So and I was sharing a lot about some prepping stuff in that, but I decided to just create a channel specifically for this journey. I thought there'd probably be a lot of people like me that weren't hardcore preppers. Like, I'm not a survivalist, I don't own machine guns, I don't own a whole lot of equipment for, like a lot of the prepping channels I'd seen were quite masculine and hardcore hunting type military type prepping channels, and I really wanted to start something that was more homesteady and really bring people along on my journey, because I didn't really know what I was doing, and I wanted to learn all of this stuff and fail in front of people, because a lot of people won't get started in the process of any of these things in fear of failure. So I was quite happy to put myself out there to fail and fail and fail and eventually succeed in what I was doing. So I feel that that's been kind of the essence of our channel, and it's grown to about 2,000, I think we're at 2,200 people now, and we've had some incredible preppers also and homesteaders join the channel, which there's really not a topic we haven't covered. So, getting your food in order, making sure you've got, solar equipment, seeds. I've actually now have probably enough seeds to sow a whole community. So that was one of my major things that I kept getting downloads as well, as to stock up on seeds. And so I've also, that's for me, could be going forward buttering the seeds for other things. If we look right now where we're at, what's October 4th, and we've got banks all around the world going through major like bankruptcy, decline. I think we're more than 10 times more in debt than we were when we had the last global financial reset. So we know that there's something pretty big and imminent that's happening right now. And one of the things that I think I've, through just a lot of the research that I've done, is that there are multiple overlaying, I think, influences that are causing and creating these world events. We're going through an orchestrated reset, which is the financial reset and the WEF and all of the global stuff that's happening. And then we have the sort of ascension reset that's happening. So we've just come to the end of the Bronze Age, and we're coming of the Dark Age, and we're going into the Bronze Age, which is that end of that 26,000 year cycle. So a lot of people have been hit with these light codes and having upgrades and having the veil become a lot thinner between the different dimensions, and so I can see, and I'm experiencing, being the line of work I am, a lot of people getting activated, but not necessarily knowing what it is they're going through. And then we have the actual, I don't know how many people know about the 138-year resets that happen on the planet. So the last one was in 1902, and the next one will be in 2040. Jason Brescius from Archaics is like a 30-year chronologist, and he's, through all of his research, he's found that every 138 years we have these resets that happen, where these strange phenomena happen around the planet. So like the last one in 1902 was the mud flood. And what we find is, in those times, say a decade or so before those natural resets take place, is that the elite create a whole lot of destruction and chaos on the planet, and trying to a significant money grab. And then when these big resets happen, these big mud floods, there could be a global flood, all of these are recorded in history, and a lot of this information has been hidden from us. So many people are operating blindly. We know or sense something's not right, but there is this other reset that happens, and the elite know, because they have all of the chronology, they have all of the understanding of who we are, what this planet's about, and they go underground. So that's what the dumb tunnels, all those deep underground tunnels are about, because they go underground and when these events happen, and then sprout back up after the events happen. So, and this has been recorded time and time again in history. So like, for example, in 1902, every single top 500 company was registered at the same time in 1902. And then we became controlled by corporations. In the reset before that, we were governed by monarchs. And as you know, each reset, there's like a new dimension of who's ruling the planet. So this is sort of, when you get into Jason's work, it's quite interesting. He believes we're in a simulation. I'm not sure what we're in. I just know that whatever it is, I feel like everything we've experienced today has been a lie. Our history's a lie. Everything is quite distorted. So, and I think that's on purpose, so we never get to really experience ourselves entirely and the full power of who we are. And and my downloads and all the things I've experienced is about, as we're moving through this ascension process, we're being activated, and we're being activated to higher levels of consciousness. And because so many people have woken up in the last few years, especially in 2020, a lot of people were, I mean, I've been on this journey my whole life, and down all of the rabbit holes for, several decades, as has my husband, which is very fortunate. So we're both on the same page. But a lot of people have only in the last few years become awake to a lot of this information. So I feel like we've got these multiple collisions of resets and times on the planet that are emerging, which is creating, I mean, I don't know how many people here feel it, but there's like an intensity, and it just seems to get more and more intense as we sort of go through the eye of the needle of this reset, which seems to be like there's a reset and a reset and like a whole shift in the planet's energy. So I sort of get this strong feeling that with all of that going on, we can't really be certain that everything that we know to date will stay the way it is. The banking system is going to change, the food system is going to change. So probably we're going to see a lot of homelessness coming into the planet, probably going to see a lot of orphans again. I mean, this is what happened in 1902 when they had all the orphan trains, and so we're in for some really challenging times. But I feel eventually, I don't know what the time is, but I have seen a really beautiful utopian earth, but there's also this time where I feel is very dark. So for me, I don't know how what everybody else here has done for their prepping, but I'll share some of the things I have done, which is the garden. And as I said, huge seed banks of every possible seed you can imagine, rare varieties, common varieties, flowers, every medicinal. I've planted a lot of medicinal herbs. I've gone and bought lots of books, like from new books to op shop to all on things from survival to medicine. I also created a backup, just like one of these sort of drives where I've got about 2,000 files that I downloaded from YouTube on everything you could possibly think of, from helping deliver babies to sewing people up to, I think building different things that I might need to build, like every possible scenario I could think of that I don't have the skill for right now going forward. If I needed it and that skill wasn't available, I had a resource to help me with that. So that's a significant, that was a significant project, just, researching all of that content and downloading it onto that. And I've got it backed up on a few different ones. So we are semi off grid as well. We just had an extra solar system put in. I mean, and I know solar's not the ultimate answer for our planet, and there's issues with solar, but it's all we have right now as an alternative, because that technology has been locked up as well. So we had a battery installed recently so that we can at least run fridge, we can run lights, we can run power if we have a grid down situation. I've also invested in many devices, like small solar devices, big solar devices, extra battery packs with solar, solar shower. So the solar stuff, I feel we've got as much as we possibly can in that to assist us if we have a grid down situation. I've gone and bought equipment to like lots of extra gardening equipment, extra rakes, extra gloves, extra buckets, everything you can think of. Try to buy 2 or 3 extra, because if we don't have the facilities or the ability to buy those things or even drive to get those things, they're the sort of things that rakes break pretty easily, and your garden equipment can rust out pretty quickly. So so I've got lots of extras of those things. I went, so this is just, I'm just rambling on about my list of things I've done. I've got huge stores of candles. I bought lamps. I've got lamp oil. I bought wax in bulk so I can make candles if I need to do that as well. I've got huge stores of oil for cooking, milk, evaporated milk of every kind, coconut, soy, dairy. What else have I got? That's about, I think, the 3 main, a bit of goat's milk as well, so all evaporated. What I've actually canned literally hundreds of jars of venison and chicken soups and veggies out of the garden. So I have a big storeroom full of stuff, right? So like I'm just mentally going through my garage and my storeroom now to kind of share with you all the things. I don't know how many people relate to me right now about how crazy this sounds, but medical stuff. I've got bandages, betadine, Panadol boxes, all sorts of anything you can imagine for animals, because I've got a farm, and for humans. I'm not on any prescription medication myself, but I've then went and researched all the herbs that I might need for someone to replace that script if I have to help somebody. So I've got huge, big, large stores of medicinal herbs. And then I bought beeswax, lots of beeswax, because one of the things that if we don't have a dentist, you're going to need beeswax to put in your teeth to use as fillings. So that's an important thing to have, beeswax. And also for other uses. Beeswax was really important, so I got a really good supplier for beeswax. If anyone is interested, I can give you the link. And so what else have I got? Going through like lots of, sorry, what was that?
You have property where you are. Have you thought about digging a bunker or making some underground, escape room?
Well, the problem with that is that you need some fairly like sophisticated engineering to do a very safe bunker, and in actual fact, we're wanting to move from here up north in the next 12 months. So that was always our plan before all this happened. So I still want to, I don't live in fear, and I don't do any of this in fear. We live in a life fully abundant, self-actualized, happy, and I don't want to suffer at any point. Like, our whole life is about thriving, not surviving. And so, all the things that I do is because if the shit hits the fan, I don't want to be suffering in that time. So we've gone above and beyond, like, I guess, like what a lot of other people might do. And I guess we're in a financial position that if we don't need it, we'll donate it to charity. We can do that as well. Or help other people. That's always been sort of where we're coming from. The other thing is our finances. We've really pushed against the system. We haven't paid taxes for quite a long time. And I'm not going to tell you what to do with your finances. I'm just going to share that we took all of our SMS money out of our SMS and we put it into metals. And then we took that metal and we took it and put it somewhere. So it's not in a safe, and it's not in a certificate of paper, and we know that we're going right up against the system doing this, right? And it's a risk, but we're prepared to push it, because if we're going to be out there telling everyone to become sovereign, to pull back, to push back, we have to really go up against that system and challenge it. So we've done everything to be as sovereign as we possibly can be. So we have taken all of our money out of our accounts. We only keep enough there of what we need to use sort of weekly or monthly. The rest gets invested in things that are like silver, gold. My husband is huge into digital currencies and utilities, and he's involved in a lot of stuff and works quite professionally. He's in finance professionally, but he's in a lot of big groups, and he's very, very big in that way. So we're trying to set ourselves up for this new world that's coming, and we're prepared for, I guess, this kind of I would say there's as we go through this reset, there'll be some friction there. So, and how long that is before we can transition will really, I believe, depend a lot on the consciousness of the whole of humanity, of how quick we get through this. I think the more you squeeze people, the quicker they wake up. So I'm hoping that the big squeeze will wake more up a lot quicker. One of the other things I did, which was quite an unusual thing to do, I guess, is in 2019 I had this very, very strong urge to get my eyes done. So I was wearing glasses, so I went and had surgery and had lens replacement so that I don't have to I just kept saying, I don't know why, I just kept getting this message, you won't be able to get glasses. So, and I was like, and this is before COVID, and I'm like, why am I getting this message, I have glasses? Just go and get your eyes done. So I just listened to that higher self. And so, which is great. I mean, and I'm around the garden, and there's nothing worse than trying to garden with glasses on. I tell you, when you're sweaty and wiping your face with mud. So that was another thing. So, but I would say to people that do wear glasses that you need to get those prescriptions and get a number of pairs of glasses to make sure you have those. And I think one of the things that I go through myself and many other preppers that I'm in communication with is this feeling sometimes of overwhelm. So I can go into I don't know if I should be in the garden right now or in the kitchen. You know, it's garden, kitchen, garden, kitchen. You know, I've got all this food and I've got to prep it. And and it's like, and you know, you can have all this energy and you're cutting away and doing stuff, and then you've got to wait, spend 2 hours pretty much with your canner, and it's the end of the night, and you're just dead tired, but you still got to wait for that canner to finish. So and then get back up and sort of start again. So, you know, there is a lot of energy required, and I think persistence. And I think for me, what I try and do is just I reframe things all the time as to why I'm doing it. And there's that, you know, everything is a learning process for me. So I'm just continually trying to push myself through my comfort zones, and not let the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing stop me, you know. So I didn't know. I bought a canner and it sat in my garage for 6 months. I was petrified of it. I thought, I don't know why I bought this. I don't think I'm ever going to use it, because these things are dangerous. They kill people. I'm sure they do. So and then one of the girls in my group, she had just started a month before me, and she'd had hers in her garage for 3 years. So this is what happens sometimes when we can buy equipment and we don't know how to use it. So she said, honestly, you know, you just got to get started, come over. So I went over, and I was like, oh my God, this is not that hard at all, right? It is a bit fiddly and a bit time consuming, but not hard, not dangerous. So I just started canning, and I just spent all sort of autumn and winter canning as much food as I possibly could. So it's a great skill to have. As Ada is on here, who is a canner, she probably relates to some of the things I'm saying. Ada, can you off mute and tell us a little bit about your experience with canning?
Oh, I've been canning for, hold on a second. Oh, it's better. I grew up in a family that we can. So, because I'm from Poland. And so that's the part of my culture as well. So I do a lot of canning, but recently I've been doing meat.
Yeah.
Because I think that this is something that we really need to have, because veggies you can grow in your garden. Even if you have a little garden, you can still grow something. But meat, it's more problematic, because what if, you know, the stores are shut down and you can't go to the stores? Then you have to have something to eat. And of course, also lard. I recently actually been doing lard, because it's a lot of energy in it, and it's fat, and it can stay for years. So the way I do it, I don't have a canner, kind of because what you just said, because it's scary. Because I remember my auntie, she had actually an incident with the canner, and she has never used that before. So I kind of focus on more traditional way of canning, which is water bath canning.
Yeah, water bath.
So that's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but I do meat in water bath canning as well. Meat too.
Yeah.
It's just different process. It takes longer, or relatively longer. You have to do it over the period of 3 days.
Yeah.
But it's really easy. It doesn't look too scary.
Well, I will have to do a video and share with you, Ada, because I grew up with my mum, who had a pressure cooker, which is different to a pressure canner, and that was one thing I had to get my head around.
Yeah.
Pressure cookers and pressure canners are two very different things.
Two different stuff, yes.
So you know, a pressure cooker just sort of zips up, and you know, and you cook a lot of lentils and things like that.
And you cook.
Yeah. Whereas the pressure canner is a very different thing, and there's many different types. But the one I have has a safety valve on it, so you can never.
Yeah, you have to adjust. To the
I never have to do anything to it. There is a little bit of just, you know, venting once you put the lid on, and
but
it's really
if you follow instruction once, I think the next time it's much easier, and every time you do it, it will get much easier as well.
Yeah.
It's just for some people just to start doing this, it's kind of daunting because you have all those little valves and you have to measure the pressure and all of this, and then you read the stories that it explodes, and that's something that would, you know, put
That was
people
the
off.
thing that put me off. But once I realized
Yeah.
how safe these
Yeah.
canners are today, we don't have to have any of those fears. And like, I'm like you when it comes to meat. I'm very lucky to have someone that hunts locally, venison locally. So we get a whole venison put in our fridge.
That's perfect.
And so then I've just been canning all of that, so and putting that on the shelf, because we know that they're also looking at putting the mRNA injection into our beef and probably every animal that's out there.
In every animal, and this is the reason I am more focused on meat recently, because of that. Because I don't want to have, you know, mRNA in my meat that I'm going to consume. No, we don't want that.
None of us want that. So, you know, I think canning is a great way, if anyone out there hasn't started, to not fear it, whether it be water bathing. And thanks Ada for sharing that with us. That was great, because there's you know, a few different ways of doing that. And just general
water bath, water bath, canning, and pressure canner. And Kelly actually is organizing workshops with me. We have been actually doing a lot of so we are actually teaching people how to do it and how to prepare food for long-term storage. And right, Kelly?
We have a workshop on the Central Coast. We have interest for it in Canberra, and we also been requested to do it online as well. So we're in the throes of organizing those things.
It's so amazing, isn't it? I think it's so wonderful that we can do that. I ran an online, and I had a group of ladies from my group come over and my house, and I ran a workshop canning meat and veggies and soup and different things. And we had the group, some of the ladies were online, so they got to share in that experience. And all of those ladies have now gone out and bought their canners, and they're all doing that, which is amazing, right? Because this is the ripple effect that we create when we actually you know, take it upon ourselves to, you know, I'm not an expert in a lot of these things, but I felt, well, I'm doing it, it's working, and these people were like me. And Deary, who taught me, was only started a month before I did, but we've created this beautiful ripple, and we're all helping each other to put food on the shelf, you know. And I think
the important thing there, Jo, is that everyone does it. It's not that you are amazingly prepping if your whole community is not, because you can't feed your whole community. You know, it's really important that we look after ourselves by helping the person next to us also get prepping. You know, we all safer if our neighbor is as prepared. So, you know, the more people that get on board with what's coming and do their little part, you know, we can't all do everything, but you can do one thing.
Exactly, Kelly. And like, you know, the more we help, the less likelihood there is of us being raided. So, you know, there's sort of like a method to, I don't want to be raided, you know, by whoever out there. So and I'm quite public, like you out there. So, you know, and I'm sharing all of these things. So we want to get people as self-sufficient as possible. And even if every single one of those had enough to feed 2 or 3 other people, do you know what I mean? Besides their own family. I mean, we never know how many people we're going to help and how many people we're going to touch just by what we're doing right now. And I think you know, it's important, and that's why I invested so heavily in the seeds, because, you know, I'm in a small community of farms, and you know, I think I'll just admit them. We're in a small community, and there's I know these people aren't prepped. The guy across the road, German, in his 80s, he's got a bunker and he's got a lot of stuff going on over there. You know, he's been through World War II. So he's great. And we have lots of good chats. But the rest of the neighbors haven't got a clue. So I've got enough seed to get, I can't tell you how many people started in their gardens if they have to, because that's what we want. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather get them growing food. One of the other things I went through a big exercise of doing last season was seed harvesting. So I ended up just spending a huge amount of time harvesting, cleaning, and packaging my seed from my last lot of crops, and I made a lot of really silly mistakes as well, and this is where it was great when I could share all of this online, because until you make a mistake, you don't know you've made a mistake in how you've harvested something, and you haven't really harvested seeds, you've harvested petals, you know, all these really stupid things that I ended up doing, and that's okay because I'd never harvested carrot seeds or all these other seeds before. So it was a great process, because now I know really well how to do these things. And now all these other people going, oh my God, I would have done the same as you. It's sort of not intuitive, like that whole process. And I'm like, no, it's counterintuitive. But so it's interesting just what we learn and discover just through our own mistakes and failings. And one of the things when you're prepping is there's going to be a lot of mistakes, a lot of failing of when you're trying new things, especially gardens, you know, like if there's not the slugs, the rats, the birds, the chooks, there's always something trying to attack my food in the garden, and I just try and stay zen about that and understand that, you know, you can only do the best you can. And I'm trying to be, well, I am organic in the garden, so it's learning then how to make up different herbal mixtures and tinctures and different remedies, and using natural fertilizer. I use a lot of neem and garlic powder and pepper, and, you know, to keep the rats and the slugs and everything else off. So
I want to, Jo, and I love your attitude towards it, because, you know, Australians are so there for their mate. You know, we're there to help others. Whereas you talk about US preppers, and they want to buy their ammo to fend off people and, you know, and the attackers, and that's how they prep. But we're like, you know, we're going to get through this together as a community. And I love that that's part of you as well. And, you know, that's so much, you know, there's no point me and my family getting through to the zombie apocalypse to the other side. Well, where is everyone else? You know, no, we need everybody. We need all of those who are willing and are working and are pulling their weight to be doing this together.
Yeah, I agree. It is about a community and not about just thinking it's about us, you know. I think I don't know what else. I mean, most people that are on here and in these groups have probably have a good understanding of what I'm talking about, and, you know, what I've done.
Is there any questions from the group though? I know you've, and because I want to go back to some of the things that you talked about in the early piece, like what you know, we know that there's going to be a dark time coming and it's going to be light on the other side, but do you want to, anyone else interested to hear more about how Jo has come to have these insights? And because she's got a lot of awareness personally that we all just read about third hand, but tell us some about the insights that you've had.
So yeah, this is how far do you want me to go? But basically after
very far.
Okay, well, after my NDE at 2, I've lived my whole life basically in 2 worlds or multiple dimensions, because we are actually multidimensional beings. That's our God-given gift. And I feel like most people through the system that we've been pushed through. So again, if we go back to the reset of 1902, the Rockefellers came in and started, they took over the education system basically, and the Rothschilds, the banking system, and, you know, also our medical system. So we then got programmed into a particular way of thinking and believing, and that sort of has put blinkers on everyone as to what the real truth is. Now, one of the things I came up with is this thing called and I'll go further into my woo-woo stuff, but basically I got shown this jar of jam. I don't know, it might be back to front, but basically, if you remember when we do preserved jam, my grandmother used to put this wax seal across the top of the jam, and in here was the fruit. And so I see that this is the doctors, the lawyers, the PhDs, the educated, and here we all are, and we've been taught to look up to these people, right? The elites sit above and outside. They have all of the information. We're just trapped in this little jar of jam, which is the funnel that we've all been fed in the last 100 years of who we are, what we are. And these people, the educated, who are so indoctrinated, the ones that most of them took all the jabs right up here, and they're telling us how it is because they are the most programmed, and then they keep us stuck, you know, because we've been taught to look up to these people, and then they become the authority for the elite. So this is part of the agenda that the Rockefellers and the elites have all been part of and programming us. And when we realized that before 1902, and I'll just get on to like I don't really have a full answer whether we're on a flat earth or a globe. I tend to think that we're in realms and a dimensional sort of reality. But just so that you know, before 1902, flat earth theory was taught all the way in infinitum backwards. As soon as we went to 1902 and the last reset and all these globalist corporations took over and they created the global agenda, all of a sudden we had global science and global everything. But people don't realize there are as many physicists and scientists out there who have proved flat earth. So, but they don't get a look in anymore, only the globalist ones. So, you know, so basically we've been living in this matrix, I would say, a very dense 3D matrix. And what happens to people like me that come into the world that, you know, have a near-death experience, and then you start living in a multiple dimensional space, it's a very hard life because of what people perceive you to be. The black sheep of the family, the weirdo, you know, I can't tell you the amount of shit that's been hung on me, I suppose you could say, over the years. But I know myself enough to know that everything that I have had visions for has eventuated. So some of the things I saw, and remember that I believe, my personal belief is that every possibility exists in the field. Every single possibility exists. And whatever we match up to each possibility based on our own vibration and frequency. And so one of the things I truly, honestly, 100% believe, that if you don't live in fear, it doesn't matter what's going on around you, because you will match up to that frequency of being outside of that unified field of fear. People who are in the fear frequency, it's the lowest frequency, they will match up to the hurricanes and the storms and all the things that are going on. And if we are in that space and frequency of true faith and belief, then we will match up to that outcome. That's actually how powerful we are. And if everyone knew that, these things couldn't touch any of us. And I've seen that. But I've also seen timelines where we have no power. The petrol pumps are all shut down. We're back to like makeshift horse and cart, using tires and bits and pieces. And there's a lot of homelessness. There's a lot of orphans, and people are taking care of a lot of children. And so I've seen many multiples of each of those types of things, where I sort of have an out-of-body experience and go into a timeline, see that timeline, take it all in, and come back into body. So and I think these multiple timelines exist. I also have gone into these incredible places in the future where it's incredible. Like when I've gone there, I've actually broken down and cried because it's been so beautiful. And I've just been like, oh my God, we made it. I can't believe we made it. Like, and it's so beautiful. So that sort of keeps me going, you know, that there's this, there is a utopia that's there. I don't know what, because time is something that doesn't really exist, and we just sort of perceive it happening in a linear way, but it's really, everything's happening at the same time all around us in multiple timelines. It's very hard to get your head around that. I do experience these things of going into multiple timelines all at once, being in multiple places all at once, and that's can be quite challenging on your mind when you come back from that. So I guess this is what really got me started in 2019, when I started having these out-of-body experiences and going into these dystopian timelines of things. I saw the whole financial system, you know, completely decimated. I saw all the banking institution buildings just burning to the ground. So many things. But I'll always say that faith, that having no fear and having complete faith is our spiritual weapon. It's our survival weapon. Is we will all get through this if we don't drop into fear. So that's the biggest thing. And I think that for me, when I kept getting these downloads that there would be issues with seed, there'd be issues with meat, there'd be issues with food, there'd be issues with water. I've seen lots of I saw lots of flooding around the whole planet, which has already happened. This was before all of the flooding. I actually also went down into tunnels and saw children and women in cages below tunnels, and that was before I really understood about the tunnels. So it's just interesting, I guess, the time we're in, and I really feel we're going through an unveiling of everything, an unveiling of the lies of our history, the lies of our drug companies, the lies of our government, the lies of what they're doing in the skies and our water and our food. So, and that is what the Great Awakening is. And I sort of feel that every one of us here are part. I mean, do the white hats exist? I don't know. I hope they exist, but I tend to think that we're the white hats. Do you know what I mean? We're the ones that have been given this white hat, and we're out there as these troops on the ground. Not only are we, like Kelly, we're networking and helping people come together, we're holding space of, for me, I try and hold a space of positivity. And we do get pushed. I get pushed. We get all sorts of shitty people in our group at times trying to attack us and do things, you know. So, you know, and yeah, it can be a challenging time to hold that space, but I think we do a really good job, and all of you people here who are helping others, I mean, it's amazing. That's what we came here. This is why I feel that I don't know how many here have gone through very challenging lives, and mine was, I had a lot of trauma and a lot of difficult situations because I had to build my resilience, you know, that I was strong and tough and resilient. And I know that I am that, you know, and I can take a lot, and I'm emotionally strong. And that was built through going through all of those hard times and getting through that and working through that. So, and I know a lot of people here are the same. Like, so many people I know that are really amazing, strong preppers have gone through a lot of difficult times, and now we understand why, because we had to be tough for this time, you know, we had to have that resilience, and I think that we're being tested every day. So yeah. Anyway, if anyone's got anything to say, that's my little piece on it all.
Yeah.
If you want to ask me any questions about any of my woo-woo experiences, feel free. I've had actually just a lot of them. I document everything that I have.
That was absolutely brilliant to hear, because I've just been learning so much about the I believe it's called the Tartarian Empire, the previous civilization that was killed with the mud floods and the orphans and everything. And you like bringing that 1902 in, because I was like, I think it's the late 1800s. I wasn't sure, but it's like blown my wormhole wide open the last few months. And you've just like clarified a bunch of that. It's really, really, really fascinating. I feel like I'm driving around the city, seeing all these old buildings of the old world. How did I not see this stuff before?
I know, right? This is it. I've just been at a conference on Norfolk Island where we had quite a few Tartarian speakers, and it was interesting because I've been going down the Tartarian space as well, and I was really, up until I went to Norfolk, I was really focused on the architecture and the buildings. And because that was the first thing that I've just been looking at, all these buildings and wondering about the people, but really just going, oh my God, like it's been there all the time right in front of us, right? Like everything's right in front of us all the time.
Can you just rewind a little bit and just give us the brief overview of the Tartarian, because I've just started to learn about it, but I'm not up on it as much as you guys are. So just give us a little bit more background.
Okay. Well, my research is, maybe 6 months or more old in the Tartaria movement. And basically, if you look at, there was this period of time where all the architecture around the world was exactly the same. And we had big doors, we had these big domes, and basically we had an advanced civilization that was using free energy. And they had these big on the tops of the roofs, these pointy roofs were big doors where a lot of these airships would come in and land. And so we had free air travel and all around the world before this. And so, and the energy was run through all these water, like water ducts and advanced water systems that created the power. Now, what was interesting about Tartaria is one of the good ones to go and watch is the which I just found a really, really good video, is the Philadelphia Fair. And that's a really good one to start with as far as Tartaria goes, because there's a painting at the very end of that particular video that's just mind-blowing. A very old painting at the end of the Philadelphia Fair. And I can send links to the particular one I'm talking about, but you can't not see it once you see that particular one. So it's good to start with that, because then that helps you to unravel more things that you might watch. But when I was going to Norfolk, I fell asleep on my husband's, just as we were sort of coming into Norfolk, I was just having a little sleep on my husband's shoulder. Anyway, I sort of had this I can't explain what happens. I sort of go into another dimension, and then I'm speaking with this man, and he's talking about hybrids and all this stuff. And all of a sudden I become lucid that I'm speaking to this man, like, oh my God, I'm back again. And then on the way back home from Norfolk, I started then becoming very curious about who were the Tartarian people. And I started pulling up some images. I might have one here that I found, and it was like exactly this man I was speaking to on the plane who was a Tartarian. And so one of the things you might not realize about Tartarians is they were breatharians, right? The Tartarian buildings never had any toilets, they never had any kitchens, right? They didn't have a digestive tract. These were a different civilized advanced race that were on the planet not that long ago. We believe, or they believe, that these particular, so this is like exactly in the clothes and the hat and everything of the man I was speaking to when I was on the plane in this other dimension. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, was good confirmation for me to go, okay, I'm on the right track. These people, they're still there. See, this is the thing, we forget that everything is recorded. Everything is in the Akashic records. Everything is there, but there's been like this, because we've been programmed into this false sense of history, false sense of identity of who we are, we have the veils to that we haven't even been able to see it. We haven't even been able, like you were saying, Michael, you're seeing these buildings now and you didn't see them before, but they were always there. And the more you go down these rabbit holes and the more you open up, the actual, for me, it's not just the physical, but the energetic starts to come in for me. The information from the Akashic records start to come in, like that man on the plane visiting me. So that's sort of how it happens for me personally. So there's a lot to do with Tartaria and the reset that they went through and what we're going to be going through as well. So with this, the next reset will be in 2040, which is outside of the current orchestrated reset we're going through now. So the 2041 will be a natural reset, which will be like what they call the Phoenix reset. Okay, they happen every 138 years. And this is the 2040 will be the Phoenix reset, as was the one in 1902. So, that's what I'm saying. We're coming into multiple conjunctions of timelines of different things here at the moment. We can't go through all of this and not have our world ruffled. You know, there's a lot of ruffling that's going to happen. For some people, it will be their health. For some people, it will be their finances. For some people, it will be their family, their children. We've experienced a lot of grief in the last 12 months because my husband's son, who we had 50-50 custody of, he was jabbed by his mum and taken away, and we haven't seen him since over a year. So because we're mad conspiracy theorists, you know. So everyone's suffering.
You're mad, Jo. You're mad.
Yeah, we're mad. We're crazy. Thanks. So everyone's experiencing something on some level, you know, and this is where we're all going to be tested. And I feel there'll be more tests to come for all of us. And it's like, how resilient are you? How much can you stay out of dropping into fear when you're coming up against your worst fear? You know, and if we remember, like I try to tell people that came to me for advice about the vaccine and should they get it or not. And I said, well, if you get to a point where you have to make a decision and you have the decision where you open up into vulnerability and not knowing, but allowing like a higher force to take you on a journey, or you drop into fear and do it out of fear, you've set the trajectory. So if you take it out of fear, now you're going to be in the frequency of fear. When you go into the unknown here, you're in the trajectory of miracles. That's the difference. You know, you're going to be having miracles show up in your life because you're not in the fear. That's the way, that's how powerful we are if we drop into, and now I see it, you know, people, how many people are sick and or have died or have had, now I've got a friend who took it to keep her job, and she's riddled with cancer, you know, and she was perfectly fine before that. And she was very spiritual and she was not going to take it, but she just got too fearful. And then she took the trajectory of fear. If she just came over here and said, I trust 100%, and was willing to go through a free fall and know that she would be caught, then she would be in a completely different position right now. I've experienced that falling.
That whilst we are on this path and we know what's happening, that we don't fill our time with worry and all the so many channels and things that all this information, if it gets us down, that's when you have to check in and go, okay, do I really need to be investing in that right now for my own spiritual, emotional self? Or do I need to just go, you know, and have faith and, you know, start putting energies into more prepping? That's why I love prepping so much, is because you put your energies into something that bears fruit.
100%.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
and that's why I changed my, you know, I was bringing people along with a lot of ascension stuff and political stuff and had the channel taken out. And then for me, it was like, you know what I really need to do from all of the other downloads I'm getting is get people ready, get them ready for what's going. I wasn't even ready, you know. I'm like, I need to get ready. So I'm going to share that getting ready journey with other people and get them ready, because yeah, you can't have all of this going on in the planet and it's not be affected. Look at how many people already are affected on the planet. When will it be our turn? We've all had.
And that's what you did, Joe, because, you know, I've been with Joe for a long time. We went down this different journey, and then it was all good. And then we all went into the prepping, and we followed Joe because she'd been collecting the videos. And we're like, what? And these videos were going up. And, you know, the group, I'm sorry, I'm sitting here. I've actually got cabbage on my fingers from the prepping group. I'm trying it out to take some swelling down on my fingers.
Yeah. Rebecca's in our group. So, and yeah, she's one of the admins. So she helps out a lot. And again, she's like me. She was just, you know, she's got a lovely place in Rutherglen, and you know, she's now converted her backyard into gardening and prepping, and she's doing water bathing and Ada, so you'll be happy about that. So and there's another one, do you know what I mean? There's another person that's
and the reason I didn't go to canning is because I was watching for a long time and I didn't buy the jars, and all of a sudden it became difficult earlier on this year to buy the jars, you know, or proper ones for canning, and then it became more expensive. And so even though I'd been buying prepping, like we've been prepping for 2 years at one stage there back in 2020, we thought an astronaut in September. So we all got generators. But, you know, it's just been that progression. But I think in Australia, it is so foreign for us to prep, you know, really, as a rule of thumb. It's like,
yeah,
you know, I know in the past, like my grandmother, chutneys and jams and all that sort of stuff, but we don't prep like Americans, you know, like, because we don't have, as a rule of thumb, the hurricanes, you know, forget what actually is happening with the weather. Well, we haven't had this stuff, and you've always been able to go to the shop pretty much, or there's food supplies that have come in. So it's quite an alien mentality.
Word, isn't it? Like even a pressure canner, like I didn't even know they existed. I used pressure.
It was so funny learning how to pressure can. It was just hysterical to watch it, you know, not in a nasty way, but it's like everyone thought that things were going to blow up.
Yeah, because
the old pressure cans back when, you know, my grandmother's days, they're not like the new pressure canners, which, you know, because I've watched enough of these guys do it now, it's not that hard once you get a knack of what you're actually doing.
Yeah. So, and it is what you made an interesting point there, Rebecca, is that Australia, we haven't known tyranny. Well, I believe that tyranny has been there all along, you know, and we don't have two governments, we don't have multiple choices. It's all rigged. It's all just one big fake system, as is the corporation that we're suffering under. And I think that people are still asleep to that. It's like, again, Michael, the buildings are right there in front of us, but we just don't see it. The tyranny is right there in front of us. We just haven't seen it. You know, the pedophilia has been there all along, right there in front of us, but we haven't bothered to look at it, because if you weren't affected by it, it wasn't your business. And a lot of things just went hush, hush, don't talk about that, you know. But now with this unveiling, it's so many layers of the onion, and a lot of people in Australia just haven't caught up to what's really going on, you know. And so
I was actually talking to a friend of mine in the USA today, and we're having a big chat. He's in Louisiana, and you know, neither country, you know, we've gone to war, you know, we've gone to Vietnam or Korea or, you know, World War II, but we've never really had war on our shores, you know, like, and so it's such an alien concept. And, you know, it's one of the things about being a prepper, like I talk about it, you know, like in our prepping groups or with people that are open to it and stuff, start talking. But like if I go away with my parents, like I did a couple of weekends ago, who are from Adelaide, they just think I'm nuts. You know, why would I be dehydrating? Why would I be, you know, growing? Like, why am I growing? They can get garden stuff, but why am I stocking up? Like, have I got enough vinegar? Have I got enough sugar? Have I got, you know,
flour, rice, lentils.
Lentils,
Yeah.
right. And I don't have enough. I know that. I don't have enough. I've done the best that I can.
As a culture who grew up with this, we have to have that steep learning curve in our, I'm going to say generation, but we don't have time. We just have to have that massive learning curve and jump in as best we can and do as best we can.
And we're lucky that there are a lot of people in America, and there's a lot of really good ones, and I'm sure everyone's found their own that they like. I've got mine that I like, that I watch, and they can lead you through stuff, because it's no different. It's really, short of the bearing the arms and all that sort of stuff. But, I can remember, when was it, Joe? Earlier this year, or it was last year. And they're like, you have to get your security in line. I'm like, I can't even comprehend security. Someone might want to break in and steal your food and, steal your
I just don't entertain that too much. I try not to, because then I feel like I'm dropping into that fear frequency again.
But as you said at the time, it wasn't fear, it was being prepared. I'm not.
Yeah, I know. And these are all the things that we've never really had to consider much before, especially if we're living regionally where we've never even locked our doors, let alone all of these other things.
I grew up.
It is not fear.
Mindset. My mother and father took us out of Sydney and grew us up in the country for this very time. And, and they had a steep learning curve because they were killing their own beef and trying to string it up with no idea what they were doing, and, preparing for this. And so, it's now she is back in Sydney. She's looking at my mother. She's looking after my grandmother, and she's wishing she had the property, and she's wishing that she had prepared. But I do believe that so long as we are doing the best that we can with what we have, then God will make the difference.
100%, 100%, because you never know. The other thing that I would say people need to, if you can't prep, then you need to look at your skill sets, right? Because if I'm going to be in a position where I can take people on our farm, if the shit hits the fan, I'm going to be looking for people who have skills as opposed to who have no skills. Do you know what I mean? As if I have to make a choice, because I can't feed everyone, I'm going to be looking for people who have particular skills.
Could be mechanical, could be dentistry, could be whatever you're good at.
Yeah.
Health, it could be health, it could be exercise, it could
gardening,
be
building,
whatever.
Conversation. Yeah. It's interesting, just how our mind shifters had to I guess bend and maneuver around all of these conversations and all of these projections of what could possibly happen, and I a lot of my prepping and a lot of things I did came from what I saw when I was in those future timelines, and I saw what was there, which was pretty bleak for a period of time, and I was like, shit, we're going to need to get our shit together to be able to get through that period of time. And look, I believe that's one possibility. If we can all raise up collectively, we can shift that. But at the moment, I don't know. I think more people are waking up, but will it be enough to shorten that dark time? I don't have the answers of how long we're going to be there, but I certainly did see a lot of dark things in that time to be ready for.
The scriptures tend to turn towards 7 years as the amount of time that we need to get through it.
Yeah. Has that started already, that 7 years? Feels like it.
And this question, how far into the 7 years are we? If we've started, is it about to start? Yeah. And different people have different
exactly
theories on that. But, Joseph of Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors, he had 7 years, of famine, and so that tends to keep coming back, that number. But
if you want to go on a more practical side and away from the scriptures, we have entered, a cycle which they've been warning about for ages, and it's a weather cycle, And so we're planning with that. And, you know, the elites that Joe, they're working with that cycle, you know, grand solar minimization and electromagnetic fields, and that's outside of our control. And as Joe was talking about year 2040, the Phoenix event, you know, it happens. It's in history. And so I think it's really important. And, you know, I notice it in the group, you know, and I'm guilty of it myself on days. It's like, you know, you can go, oh my goodness, this is just so overwhelming. And then you've got to come back and ground yourself and go and put your feet in the grass and look up at the trees and go, even looking at history. Like I'll escape back into Haltaria or, you know, some other stuff that I do, because it's amazing. It's amazing what we've had. And apparently it's really wiped.
Yeah, I was really looking at a lot of the air flight travel last night that we had. Oh my God, have we?
Especially the pyramids in Australia.
Oh my God, if you like, the Hindenburg was a false flag, you know, to bring down that technology, because we used to fly around the world for free in these beautiful floating ships that were not dangerous at all. Right. So our whole flight and access to the world has been hijacked by the elites again with this, you know, sardine can travel on a plane and you get a little window that's over here, so you can't really ever see out the whole of the you know, what you're looking at. Whereas you look at these airships that used to go around all the world and dock on all those beautiful buildings, and what a way to travel, you know, 2 days to cross the Atlantic, and you would be just cruising along, you know, and it was like being on a cruise ship in the air, just gracefully going along, and you could put your car on there, take your car, you know. How have we been hijacked? You know, everything's.
And that's the thing, it's so hard when you start to look at that, and you really question your mind. It's like with prepping, you know, it's like, am I going mad? You know, like I'm buying all these food, I'm buying this rice, I'm buying these legumes, I'm stocking up on tins, and, you know, I'll get these seeds. It's like nothing's happening, you know, like, but yet you can logically see what's going on if you can follow the markets and you can follow, you know, world events. And
that we know that it's happened before. That's the
we
thing.
know it's happened before. And if you can just come back to the present, and then you go and mingle with people that have no idea, and you just want to say, please, you know, like, please just have a look, you know.
But we have to just accept people's journey. And
correct.
But yeah, look, I mean, we're at 9:25. Kelly, I'm conscious of you wanting to finish at 9 o'clock. So it's kind of just taken off over time, but I'm good to talk, but I know you had some other things going on. So
yeah, thank you everyone for jumping on. I do need to myself at least wrap up, because the gates of where I'm staying shut, and I do want to get back in before they shut me up.
Please do. Jesus.
But yeah, that went pretty quick. But yeah, look, great to meet you all, and I think we're all sort of understanding many things.
And by the way, this cabbage on a sore on your finger, I've broken my fingers, seems to be working.
That's good.
I love that. I love that. That's so great.
So thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone. And I hope people can get something out of some of the stuff we've shared tonight. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you, Joe.
No worries. Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Kelly.
Really keen to get that link. That I think you said Philadelphia link or something.
It's the Philadelphia Fair.
Right. Yeah. I've been watching.
I'll put the links in Kelly's group if you like, of those particular videos I've discussed. Yeah. No worries.
Wonderful. What amazing discussion. So yeah, it's been brilliant. Thanks so much everyone for being here, and for those that are watching the replay, and we're actually getting together in our area to do the challenge, Joe. I don't know if you've heard of that. That I'm 48 hours to go without electricity and without running water, without your bed. So it's not a long time, but it's a challenge just to get people a bit out of their comfort zone, but still in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
So that you can practice going through that. So when it actually happens, it's not going to be so frightening, because you know you can do it. And so I've been training them the last 4 weeks on packing your 72-hour kit, and that, you know, the first 72 hours or 3 days of or 9 meals, they say, of when the custard hits the fan. You need to have that sorted so that you can get through it much more easily. So 14th to the 16th of October, wherever you are, it could be in your own home. You might decide to get together with others on property or camp or whatever, or in groups. But if you register on myselfreliance.com.au and say I'm in, then you can be in the running to win prizes and awards. And so there's little challenges that we've set that if you accomplish the challenges along the way, that you'll also take photos of the chill challenge and then upload it and share with the group. And so I've got some beautiful prizes.
Did you set that up?
Yes.
That was awesome. I've seen that online. Well done.
Yeah.
I love that idea. It's a
Beautiful.
great idea.
If we do it as a nation together, then we will all know that we're really well prepared, but also make some friends along the way. How cool.
Sounds wonderful.
Awesome idea.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, everyone. And I know people's batteries are running low, so we'll say goodnight and lovely to chat to you all. So much love. Stay positive.
See you Tuesday.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Thanks, Joe.
Kelly recommends these nutritious fast foods for your grab-and-go bag. This vegan, non-GMO, gluten and dairy-free 72-hour pack provides you with loads of energy to keep you full for longer. Grab your Summit Special at myselfreliance.com.au and pick up a large protein shake free with your kit.